Hello, Salima?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, thanks for letting us talk to you. I know you're a busy person about the movie Bad Rap. And
thank you for having me, man. Much appreciated.
Hey, look, I watched that movie. It was such a cool movie.
You saw it?
Oh, yeah.
Where did you see it?
I got the screener. And I got a
hookup.
Yeah, some back channels. But I gotta say,
okay, I'm glad that you saw it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
And what better way to see it and then talk to you about it? I'm trying to do this without giving too many spoilers in the movie.
Sure.
Because we want the people to see it and judge for themselves. But you directed a hell of a movie.
Thank you.
And one thing we want to say about this movie is that how did you just jump into this subset of hip-hop? Because when I think of hip-hop, Asian rappers ain't the first thing on my list.
Wait, who was? Who did you say?
I said just Asian rappers in general. When I think of hip-hop, I'm not starting there.
So of course. So that's funny because I'll tell you how it started. I was at Columbia doing my documentary thesis for my master's. And I was coming up with ideas, and at the time, I was really big into K-pop, which is Korean pop.
Oh, look at you!
Right. So but the thing is, I grew up in a family where, we used to listen to some weird shit. We used to have Bollywood, playing all the time. My father grew up in Sierra Leone, where when he was younger, all the movies were just like the Indian movies that he would go to with his buddies, cut school and go watch the Indian movies. So I was just always exposed to different kinds of stuff, and African music and reggae and just a bunch of stuff.
That's what's up.
So,
hey, I know the struggle. I had to put my friends on Super Junior myself, so I know a thing or two.
Okay, I see you. Okay, so you know about Super Junior.
Super Junior, Big Bang, Teen Top, Miss A.
Yes.
What's up?
Okay, I didn't know. If you would have told me, I would have prepared a little bit more. But okay, so now that you say that, you talked about Big Bang, right? And Big Bang is this sort of a pop, hip-hop, Korean group, K-pop group, and they're huge, right? And at the time that I was at Columbia, it was about 2012, I was reading Double XL, the magazine, and one of the artists from Big Bang, his name is G-Dragon, who's one of the rappers / singers in the group, was in Double XL, and I'm thinking, why is this K-pop artist in Double XL? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so I looked it up, reached out to the person who interviewed him, and it happened to be this guy named J.T. Cho, who now is my co-producer on the film. And, we're just chopping it up. I'm trying to figure out how can I do a K-pop movie, right? And the more that we talked, and J.K. was born in Korea, moved out here when he was young, and learned a lot of his swag and English from hip-hop, And my experience of hip-hop was different. It was just always there for me. I didn't learn English through hip-hop. It was just always there. And so I didn't even really need to do a lot of due diligence. And so as we were talking, he was just he started naming some rappers, and I didn't know who these people were. I was like, I've grown up with hip-hop, but I don't know who Geo is. I don't know who, some of these other guys that he was talking, Akira One. And after we got off the phone, then I started doing my research. And I was like, has anybody ever done a movie about this? This is hip-hop. There's been so many hip-hop documentaries. Nobody's done a documentary about Asian American artists and Asians in terms of hip-hop. We're talking about style, b-boying, graffiti, DJing. They have that on lock. What about the MC part? And so that was where it started.
And I gotta say, before I watched the film, I looked around at the staff here, and the only thing we could think of, we were Asian rappers. We only came up with 3. Out of all of us, we came up with 3. It was Jen, Dumbfounded, and Aquafina. And the reason we came up, and Aquafina came up, I didn't know Aquafina through hip-hop. I know Aquafina through girl code and had to work backwards.
Yep. I met Aquafina before she even got on Girl Code. And it's funny because when she first started, and she tells me this in interviews, is she felt like people looked at her like she was just a gimmick, and people were in her ear sort of telling her that she's this and she's that. And at a certain point, she was like, no, screw that. I'm going to do whatever I want. And once she did that, that's when she started getting those girl code roles and she started being more confident. And that's where people saw her. A lot of people didn't even know she had a viral hit called My Batch,
Yeah, I was one of those people.
So, yeah. I'm sorry?
I said I was one of those people until this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And let's talk about the rappers. Dumbfounded and Aquafina is in the movie, as well as Rex Dizzy, lyrics, as well as a panel of great rappers that you pull from. But I like how you focus on the main four, and those main four come from four very different worlds of hip hop, just in general.
Totally.
Let alone the only thing they really have in common is the fact that they are Asian rappers. What made you want to focus on those four?
That's a great question and a great insight, because that's exactly why we chose those four, is because they were so different in their music and their styles and their approach. One does boom bap, is really into the Wu-Tang kind of, really lyrical music. One is, very West Coast and laid back. And so they each have a different style. And that was one of the reasons we chose them. The other one was because they were all friends, or they were becoming friends at that time. You could sort of see the seeds of friendship growing with them. So I knew that just technically, as a filmmaker, if Rex Dizzy calls me at 1 a.m. and says, "Hey, I'm performing at the club tonight, come through," then I know, okay, let me come get my stuff and go to this club, because I know he's not just going to be there. Dumbfounded is probably going to be there. Aquafina's probably going to be there, and a couple other people are probably going to be there. So it was just logical, and it actually just so happened that they each had different kinds of music and were at different points in their career.
Just watching the film, like I say, I'm twisting my words very, very, and I'm picking them very carefully because I don't want to give any spoilers. But what was one of the most surprising things that you learned while filming? Because you followed these guys, if memory serves me right, you followed all four of them for about 2 years, more or less.
Yep.
So what was one of the more surprising things you learned while filming and just being with them?
Right. A lot of people ask me if the culture was different, right? And I always go, no, the culture wasn't different, because I'm part of that same culture. I'm part of the same hip-hop culture, you know what I mean? So it was like, we would go out, we would go to shows, we would, chop it up, we would go eat. There wasn't anything different. I felt like I was at home, because we were all the same age, we all had the same issues, and we all loved hip-hop. And hip-hop was almost like that thread, right? So I wouldn't say there was anything surprising. However, something that I thought was interesting is that I think because, I don't know if it's because, but although Asian Americans haven't made it big in the mainstream in terms of hip-hop, they have a community of rappers that all of them know each other and help each other and give each other certain resources, right? And I don't really know how to explain that unless you see it, but if I need to get in touch with somebody, Ted Chung, for example, who is Snoop Dogg's manager and who happens to be Asian American, if I need to get to Ted Chung, I know that I can call up 3 different people who are rappers, Asian American rappers, because there's a tight-knit community where they know how to get to each other, right? And they give each other, and that's something that, I don't know if I see with black rappers or even white rappers, because it's almost everybody's in it for themselves, whereas with Asian American rappers, it's like we're all in this together, so we can get to where we can get that one person who's dope, and then all of us can eat too.
All right. One thing I noticed about this film is that I see a lot of the similarities between black rappers, white rappers, and now Asian rappers. That one of the things is your stereotype. If you're a rapper, black rapper, you got to be streetwise, like an alpha male. You got to be. And one thing I've noticed when you were in that community, one thing about black rappers, I can say, they have a big thing of what I like to call the not enoughs. You're not hood enough. you're not black enough, you're not whatever enough. Did you see that while you were filming, or while you were just following that around, that not enough stigma?
Well, one thing I learned was that one of the reasons why it's so hard for us to wrap our brains around the idea of an Asian rapper is because Asians are the antithesis of hip-hop, stereotypically, right? As Americans, when we think of the stereotypes of Asian men specifically, docile, non-confrontational, middle class, smart, nerdy, right? How does that fit into a genre that has been almost stigmatized as, not even stigmatized, but is, first of all, it's rooted in black culture. It is paired with images of poverty, of aggression and confrontation. And how do you fit those two things together that are almost opposite, right? So I think, first of all, that was something I thought was really interesting that I don't know if people really have really thought about why it's hard for them to wrap their minds around an Asian American rapper. Sorry, I don't remember what the second part of your question was. No,
I'm just saying that stigma, that not being enough of something, and I think you answered it pretty clearly with that, because when you do think of Asian rappers, you don't know what to expect, to be quite honest.
Right.
And like,
and then on top of that, it's like you're not just going to come into my genre to hip hop and think that you're going to do it. You're not, and that's sort of and I think that attitude, I'm not against that attitude. You know what I mean? I'm not against you have to work to get where you have to work to get into this. You got to work to get into hip hop and pay your dues. I think every rapper should have to pay their dues. And I think that the rappers in the film acknowledge that there hasn't been that one person. Right? There hasn't been the Eminem of Asian Americans to come through and be twice as good as everybody else and just kill it and be undeniable.
Now
I think that they know that.
We got close with Jen, but they talk about that in the movie as well, because like when I we were looking for Asian rappers before we even filmed, everyone hands raised. It was like Jen, and and then. Well, without spoiling it, they talked about why Jen is a household name, good and bad. Now,
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I got to know that we talk about a lot of the challenges that they go through in this doc, but what were some of the challenges, or one of the main challenges you had while filming this doc?
Oh, that's great. Everything, man, because I was by myself, and it's one thing to have to, I told you, Rex Susie will call me at 1 in the morning. Hey, you want to come shoot this? Why aren't you here? I'd be, at 1 in the morning, I would be in the edit booth working. I wasn't sleeping. And so I had to make the decision. I couldn't say, hey, partner, can you go shoot this while I edit? I had to do it. I was responsible. So everything that looked good or looked bad, I had to take responsibility for. So that pressure is a lot. But aside from that, I think the biggest part technically is just sitting down in the edit booth, and you're in there for weeks and weeks, and it turns into months, and it turns into a year, and you're by yourself, and you can't tell if anything makes sense anymore. You can't tell if you're getting across what you want to get across. You can't tell if it's enjoyable. I remember locking the film, being done with it, and feeling like, this is terrible. Oh my, I had all these insecurities. I felt like, this is going to be the first movie about Asian American rappers. It has to be good. Here I am, a black girl, telling the story of Asian American rappers. This shit has to be on point. It has to be accurate. It has to be good. It has to just encompass everything. That was a big pressure for me.
Now that the film is out, you've shown it. There's been many screenings. There's been public ones. Now that the dust has settled a little bit, how are people receiving it? Are we talking awards, or are you talking validation in your? How do you feel now?
You know what? It's done very well. The validation for me was when I first showed the 40-minute version at Columbia 15 to graduate, and people loved it. That was like good for me. You know, I was ready to start on another project, but the demand for can you make it longer and can we make this a thing, it just spoke to the fact that there was something bigger. And so the real, I guess, award or validation for me has been seeing K-pop artists tweet about it and wearing Bad Rap merchandise and people talking about it on Twitter and legitimately having conversations and arguments and debates about Bad Rap and its content, you know, on their Twitter feeds or on Facebook or whatever. Or people saying, fuck these Asian appropriators. And then other people, oh, you know, I like that conversation. Let's get that conversation out there so we can see how people really feel. And then we can talk about it. That, for me, is, I guess, the best reward. But, you know, we've gotten a few awards for the film, which is really cool. It's about to start. It's about to come out. And it'll be streaming, and it'll, you know, that's great. The other stuff for me is the stuff I'll remember.
Okay. Now that you went through this whole process, I gotta ask, what advice do you have for anyone about to jump into their own, out of their comfort zone to do some stuff?
Oh, that's great. One, you can have as many ideas as you want. If you don't execute, it's not going to get done. It doesn't matter how many ideas you have if you're not executing. So that's the first thing. Ideas don't make you $1 million. Execution makes you $1 million. The second thing is you're not going to know what you're doing. And while you're in it, you're going to learn. There's nothing that I could say that's going to prepare anybody. You have to just do it. You have to do the execution for you to learn. I'm still going through a lot of crap right now because I didn't know, you know, making a film is, there's pre-production, production, post-production, festivals, this and that distribution. There's so many parts, and you're just not going to know until you go through it, and you're going to mess up. You're going to make big mistakes, but you're not going to die. You know what I mean? You're not going to die. It's going to be okay. You're going to learn. That's it.
Okay, you say you're going through a lot. Give me a little taste of what you're going through now, even though
I'll tell you, here's an interesting tidbit. Right now, one thing that for some platforms you need to have subtitles. Which, first of all, subtitles cost upwards of $30,000. Just off rip, right? And when you're doing a hip hop film and that needs to be subtitled into different languages, sometimes you can't even get it done right in English. And the reason why is because you have people who are not of the culture. When I say of the culture, I don't mean black. I don't just mean black. I mean people who understand what the word chillin' means. Oh, I'm chillin'. You know, if you have a whole bunch of, you know, people who are not of the culture doing your subtitles or doing your captions, and they can't even understand basic slang, I mean, that means I have to take it to the overhaul and go through the entire film script and say, this means this. Dope. When somebody says dope, that doesn't mean drugs. That means it's cool. You know, what does cool mean? That doesn't mean it's cold. That means it's, you know, but you got to figure out how to explain to them what these words mean. Right.
Okay.
So that's the crap that I'm going through right now, and it's very frustrating. You know, but then there's other things. Quickly, sorry. There's other things like that you don't know. You know, when you export your film, you think you just have the file. If you're going to a festival, you need to pay $2,000 for a DCP, which is a different format that I'd never even heard of. When you're dealing with trying to get your movie sent to different distributors, you got to get a sales agent. Sales agent takes about 12 to 15% of your cut. You know, so you got to need a clearance attorney. A lot of these artists never cleared their samples. So now I got to find out, where does the sample come from? How can I get a release for it, or do I got to cut it? There's just a lot of stuff that you don't know until you get there, but you'll get through it.
I see. And this second to last question, when it comes out very soon, what do you want the audience to take away from your movie? If anything, if you can just say, hey, just take away this out of all my hard work.
Yeah. Right. That's great. I would say that one thing that people resonate the most with and that I love is is, when we were doing Tribeca, we were having old white guys coming up to us who don't even listen to hip hop saying how much they loved it, because the movie is not just about hip hop. This movie is about, wanting to be part of something, wanting to belong to something, and being told that you can't, or being told, okay, cool, but we're going to put all these obstacles in front of you. Now, what do? Do you give up, or do you say, okay, cool, I'm up for that challenge? And so I think that people resonate with that idea of this universal idea of being told you can't do something, or being told you're not going to succeed at something, and then you say, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway. I think that's what I want people to take away from it, is that, when somebody tells you not to do something, keep doing it. People have told me before, I've had supervisors tell me I'm not worth, I will do like a negotiation for my salary, and I'll have people tell me, do you really think that you're that good? I'll say, yeah, I do. And then they'll hire me, later on. But they try to tell me that I can't. So when somebody tells you you can't do something, that fire that you have within you, that confidence, I think that's what I want people to take away from it.
That's great. And the dreaded question, and I have to ask this: what's next?
Fortunately, I have an answer. Well, the first thing is going through an existential crisis. That's the first thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's understandable.
The existential crisis of about to hit 30 and not sure what you're going to do next. But the other thing is, I am writing a narrative, and I'm writing a narrative about Black kids. I'm writing a pilot, and I've met a lot of great people who want to help me and who want to tell stories from the perspective of a Black woman or a Black person, and there are so many stories for us to tell, that haven't even been told in the perspective of a Black person, like Insecure or Atlanta or whatever else, these shows where you have Black people feeling like, oh wow, that's me. I've never seen my experience on television, or I've never seen my experience on the screen. Like when Creed came out, and they used words that I was just like, oh, that's dope. They didn't have to explain that, because it wasn't for the people who aren't of the culture. It's for people who understand it, right? So
me and you vibed off K-pop earlier, so I totally understand.
Good. That's dope. So that's what I'm working on right now. And hopefully I'll be able to share stories about people of color. I am a person of color. I have a perspective, so that's what I'm working on now.
All right, well, Salima, like I said, the movie Bad Rap is great. It comes out very, very soon. And just thank you for giving us just a little piece of your time just to call into the podcast.
Sam, your podcast is dope. You are a great interview. You are engaging. I love your show, and I love you. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thanks so much, Salima.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.